imagine you are sitting in the dark. It's 11:30 at night.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. The house is completely quiet, and you are just staring blankly at your phone screen.
Oh.
And the battery indicator in the corner is glowing red at like 1%.
Yeah, hanging on by a thread.
Exactly. And if you are being entirely honest with yourself, your own internal battery is blinking red right along with it because you have spent the last 16 hours navigating this modern minefield. Just a crushing volume of emails, high-stakes decisions, constant notifications, just the general weight of obligations.
Yeah, that heavy, just suffocating sensation of burnout.
And we usually try to solve this modern paralysis with, well, modern tools.
Yeah.
Like, we look for a new time blocking app or a different morning routine, or maybe we just try to, drink more water.
Which, hydration is good, but it doesn't fix the core issue.
No, it really doesn't. So for this deep dive, we are taking a radically different approach to solving that exhaustion.
A very different approach.
We are looking for the antidote to modern burnout inside a text that is roughly 2,000 years old. It is deeply psychedelic and, frankly, seemingly entirely disconnected from our current reality.
Yeah, the contrast is jarring, honestly, but that is actually part of why this approach is so effective. We are looking at excerpts from the second volume of the Avatamsaka Sutra.
Also known as the Flower Garland Sutra.
Right, exactly. And to give you some context, if you're listening and haven't heard of it, this is a cornerstone text of East Asian Buddhism. It is massive.
Yeah.
Sprawling and incredibly dense.
Oh, dense is an understatement.
Yeah.
When you first open it, it reads more like a cosmic science fiction novel than any kind of a self-help manual.
Absolutely. So the scene is set right after the historical Buddha's enlightenment. But he is not just sitting alone under a tree like we usually picture.
Right.
The text describes him surrounded by this oceanic, almost infinite assembly of beings. We're talking heavenly kings, various devas, and these cosmic entities that represent different forces of nature and consciousness.
And I'm looking at these excerpts, and frankly, I am struggling to see the practical connection here.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is. Like, we have celestial beings with names like the Pure Meridai Heavenly King. We have entire multiverses, beams of light. I mean, if my problem is a toxic boss or a massive credit card bill, how does a cosmic mythological gathering help me? What am I missing here?
Well, the key is to look past the mythological imagery.
Yeah.
You have to understand what these beings are actually doing in the text.
Okay, what are they doing?
They aren't just hovering there passively worshiping. The sutra describes them experiencing what it calls liberation doors.
Liberation doors.
Yeah. And in the context of this philosophy, a liberation door is not a literal gateway. And it's not magic either. It is a specific cognitive breakthrough.
Like a mental shift.
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift in perception that unlocks the mind from a state of suffering. So the text catalogs these different groups like moon divas, the sun divas, the Brahma kings, and it meticulously details the exact philosophical shift that allowed each of those groups to break free from their mental anguish.
Wait, so this isn't just a mystical story with cosmic beings. Are you saying this text is actually a catalog of ancient mental hacks?
Yeah, basically. The author is using these cosmic beings as avatars to explain different ways we can fundamentally alter how we perceive reality.
That is a fascinating way to frame it.
Yeah.
So it's essentially a vast archive of psychological shifts.
That is a very useful way to look at it, yeah. The imagery is meant to stretch your mind, to pull you out of your narrow, everyday, analytical thinking.
Right.
And if we analyze these specific liberation doors, we find mental models that map surprisingly well onto our modern understanding of psychology and stress management.
Well, let's test that theory then. Because, when I am spiraling into a panic about my workload or my finances, the very first hurdle is the sheer, solid reality of the problem.
Right. It feels completely immovable.
Yes, it feels heavy, it feels permanent.
Yeah.
So where does the text suggest we even begin to dismantle that feeling?
So it addresses that exact feeling of heaviness through the insights of a group called the Moon Devas.
The Moon Devas, okay.
Yeah, and their specific liberation door involves realizing that reality is, and I'm quoting the text here, like an illusion, like empty space, without form and without self-nature. They observe that the Buddha appears in the world like light and shadow. He is everywhere, but he is not a fixed, rigid object you can just grasp,
Okay, I have to push on that a bit, because this is where the philosophy usually loses me.
Fair enough.
Like, illusion and light and shadow sound beautiful if you're meditating in a monastery. But if I lose my job, or, if I get into a car accident on the highway, that is not a shadow.
No, of course not.
That is real metal, real money, and real consequences. If someone tells me my very real crisis is just an illusion, it feels incredibly dismissive. Why should I treat my stress like a bad dream?
It feels dismissive because we kind of misunderstand the translation of these concepts in the West.
How so?
Well, when the text uses terms like illusion or says things have no self-nature, which, by the way, is the core Buddhist concept of anatta, it is absolutely not practicing nihilism.
So it's not saying nothing matters?
No, not at all. It is not saying your car accident didn't happen or that your pain isn't valid. Having no self-nature means that an event or an object or even your own identity does not possess a permanent, unchanging, independent essence.
Okay, so it's about permanence.
Exactly. It means things are highly fluid events. They are completely dependent on causes and conditions that are constantly shifting and moving.
Okay, I think I see. So the friction isn't the event itself. The friction is my mind treating a temporary fluid event as a permanent state of being.
Yes. That is the core mechanism of the suffering. We take a fluid situation and we mentally just pour concrete over it.
Wow, pouring concrete over it, that's exactly what it feels like.
Right. Think about the parallels with modern cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
Oh.
A major goal of CBT is cognitive diffusion. Training your brain to recognize that a thought like, I'm a failure, is just a passing neurological event. It's not a permanent identity.
Right, it's a thought you are having, not who you are.
Exactly. And the Avatamsaka Sutra is applying that exact same cognitive diffusion, but to external reality. A crisis feels crushing because you view it as a solid wall.
Yeah.
But the Moon Devas realize that if you view the crisis as light and shadow something in motion, something that was created by temporary conditions and will eventually dissipate, you don't have to carry the weight of it forever.
That makes a lot of sense. For you listening, think about how this changes the physical sensation of stress. Like, when you receive a terrifying email, your body braces for impact as if a boulder just dropped on you.
Your nervous system completely locks up.
Yes. But if you can train your perception to see that email as an event in motion, like a combination of circumstances that will change by tomorrow, you decouple your identity from the crisis.
You acknowledge it, but you stop letting it solidify.
Right. You stop letting it turn into a permanent wall.
Yeah.
That really does provide a profound sense of cognitive breathing room.
It really does. You can handle the situation without being crushed by its imagined permanence.
Okay, I can see how that cognitive diffusion works for a single, isolated problem. But my issue, and I think the issue for a lot of people who are dealing with burnout right now, is the volume.
The sheer amount of it.
Yes. Like, I can intellectually detach from one stressful email, but the problem isn't one email, it's the 500 emails behind it.
Right.
So the philosophy starts to break down for me when the sheer scale of modern life hits.
Well, the authors of this text actually understood the paralyzing nature of scale, and their answer to it is perhaps the most famous and definitely the most mind-bending concept in the entire sutra.
Okay, I'm ready.
Throughout these excerpts, various heavenly kings marvel at a specific visual paradox. They describe seeing inconceivable Buddha lands, meaning infinite, complex universes, located entirely inside a single pore.
Wait, like a pore on your skin?
Yes, a single pore. And the text repeatedly insists that oceans of immense adornments and vast realities are established in a single thought.
Okay, we are definitely back to the sci-fi imagery here. They're literally saying entire universes exist inside a piece of dust or a single pore.
That's what it says.
How does zooming in that far help me clear my inbox? Because our modern instinct is the exact opposite. When things get overwhelming, we are always told to, look at the big picture or make a 5-year plan.
And honestly, that modern instinct is precisely what fuels our anxiety.
Really?
Think about it. We look at the big picture, we see the massive mountain of tasks, and our nervous system just overloads.
That's true.
So the sutra is offering radical inversion of scale. It's proposing that the macro is entirely contained within the micro.
The macro is in the micro.
Yeah. The giant, inconceivable universe of your life doesn't actually exist as one giant object you can tackle all at once. It is constructed entirely out of single pores, single moments, single immediate actions.
Oh, wow. There is a really fascinating parallel here with modern neurobiology, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we know that the physiological state of anxiety, like the cortisol loop, the racing heart, is largely driven by the amygdala projecting into the future.
Constantly anticipating.
Right. It is trying to solve abstract threats that haven't even happened yet.
Yeah.
So by forcing your cognitive attention down to the absolute smallest unit of physical reality, the single pore, you effectively starve the anxiety loop of the abstract fuel it needs to keep running.
That is a brilliant way to put it. Starving the anxiety loop. The mechanism here is immediate presence.
Yeah.
If you want to manage an overwhelming universe of responsibilities, you do not stare at the universe. You shrink your focus with absolute rigorous discipline to the very next physical action.
You find the macro in the micro.
Exactly.
So the practical application for, say, a Tuesday afternoon when you were just drowning in work is aggressive compartmentalization.
Yes, very aggressive.
You stop looking at the massive project timeline. You zoom all the way into the literal next keystroke. Like, what is the single next sentence I need to type?
What is the next phone number I need to dial?
Right. You inhabit that one single pore completely because that is where the actual universe is being built.
And this naturally transitions into the next challenge. Because once we have narrowed our focus to that single present moment, how are we supposed to execute the action?
Right, because I can zoom in on typing that one single email, but I can still do it with my jaw completely clenched, my shoulders up by my ears, and just internally resenting the fact that I have to send it at all.
We've all sent that email.
Nah.
And that brings us to the liberation door unlocked by the pure merit eye, Heavenly King.
Okay.
The text states that he realized all things, quote, do not arise, do not fence, do not come, do not go, and operate through effortless action.
Okay, I have to wave a red flag here at effortless action.
I knew you would.
I mean, it sounds appealing, but I have a mortgage to pay.
Yeah.
You know, if I tell my clients or my boss that I am practicing effortless action, they are going to assume I've stopped caring and I will be effortlessly fired.
Right, right.
How does this survive contact with the real world?
It is crucial we decode this because effortless action is a translation of a concept very closely related to the ancient Chinese philosophy of Wu Wei.
Wait.
Yeah. And it absolutely does not mean apathy, negligence, or just lying on the couch.
Okay.
It is about the quality of your internal state while you are exerting effort. And the text gives us a perfect analogy through the observations of the sun devas.
What do they observe?
They note that the Buddha's influence is like the sun's light. It illuminates everywhere naturally.
Okay.
Think about the sun. It is exerting a massive amount of energy, right? But it doesn't wake up and strain to shine. It doesn't experience internal friction about being the sun.
It just is.
Right. It simply acts in accordance with its nature without forcing it.
So it's the separation of physical exertion from psychological resistance.
Exactly.
I mean, it is easy for us to sit in a quiet studio and talk about being the sun. But when a deadline is looming, the ego naturally wants to panic and force an outcome.
And that ego-driven panic is exactly what drains your battery to 1%.
Right.
Think of a swimmer caught in a riptide. The instinct is to swim furiously against the current, directly toward the shore.
Which is the worst thing you can do.
Exactly. They exert massive effort, generate huge amounts of friction, and eventually drown from exhaustion. The effortless action approach, the Wu Wei approach, is to recognize the reality of the current, stop fighting it directly, and swim parallel to the shore until you are out of the pull.
Oh, wow.
You are still swimming, you are still working hard, but you have dropped the exhausting mental resistance to the reality of your environment.
Because the friction is the internal monologue. Like, we spend half of our energetic capacity actually doing a task, and the other half internally complaining that it isn't fair we have to do it.
We're worrying that we aren't doing it perfectly.
Yes. So this liberation door is an invitation to audit your own physical tension. Like, when you are engaged in a task, notice where you are artificially forcing an outcome.
Exactly. Effortless action means bringing intense, focused energy to the single pore in front of you, but completely surrendering the agonizing mental demand that the universe conform to your exact expectations.
You do the work, but you drop the internal argument with reality.
Beautifully said.
That reframing changes the entire physical experience of a workday. But there is a missing variable here.
What's that?
We can decode our own stress, we can zoom into the present moment, and we can try to drop our internal friction. but we do not live in isolation.
No, we don't.
Eventually, you have to interact with other people who have not had these cosmic breakthroughs and are still operating at maximum anxiety.
Oh, the text anticipates the problem of human interaction beautifully.
Really?
Yeah. If you look at the recurring themes among all these different groups, the Brahma Kings, the Sun Devas, the Moon Devas, they each make a really similar observation about how the Buddha communicates. He does not stand in front of this infinite assembly and deliver one monolithic, rigid lecture. The sutra explicitly notes that he provides the, quote, reign of Dharma according to the roots of sentient beings.
According to the roots. So he is customizing the interaction based on the specific capacity of whoever is standing in front of him.
Exactly. This is the practice of skillful means. The text points out that to some beings, he appears as a specific philosophical teaching. To others, simply as a calming physical presence or light.
Oh, wow.
He analyzes the root system of the individual and provides exactly the type of rain they can actually absorb.
It's like he's customizing his advice algorithm for every single user based on their specific bandwidth.
That's a perfect modern way to say it, yeah.
Let's look at why this is so difficult for us to apply today. Because when we discover a solution to our own stress, like a new diet, a new workout, or even a philosophy like the one we were discussing right now, our immediate ego-driven instinct is to project it onto everyone around us.
Oh, constantly. We think, this fixed my anxiety, so you need to do exactly what I did.
Right. And when they reject our advice, we get frustrated. But the failure isn't theirs for not listening. The failure is ours for watering a delicate plant with a fire hose.
A fire hose of advice they didn't ask for.
Exactly. True empathy requires suspending your own ego long enough to accurately observe the person in front of you. Like, what is their emotional capacity right now?
What is their background context?
Yeah. Are they actually ready for a solution, or do they just need you to be a calming presence? Because if you try to give someone a macro-level philosophical lecture when they are having a micro-level panic attack, you are not helping them.
No, you're just trying to make yourself feel smart.
Yes. So the practical takeaway here is to audit your empathy. The next time a coworker or a partner comes to you in a state of chaos, do not immediately force your mindset onto them. Take a moment to assess their roots.
Adjust your communication to match what they can actually process in that moment.
Right. It saves your own energetic battery, and it actually serves them.
It transforms interaction from this exhausting collision of egos into an act of genuine nourishment.
Well, we have extracted some incredibly dense material today, but the practical architecture it leaves us with is surprisingly sturdy.
It really is.
If you listening are operating at 1% battery, this text offers a sequence of mental models to fundamentally change how you process stress. First, tackle the illusion of rigidity. Recognize that your crises are fluid events, not permanent walls. They lack self-nature.
Second, manage the terrifying scale of modern life by finding the macro in the micro. Stop projecting into the infinite future and ground your nervous system by focusing entirely on the single pore, the literal next action required of you.
Third, engage in effortless action. Do the work, but drop the exhausting psychological friction. Stop arguing with the reality of the current you are swimming in.
And finally, practice skillful means. Provide the reign of your advice according to the roots of the people around you, rather than projecting your own solutions onto their unique situations.
It is a remarkably sophisticated operating system for the human mind, hiding inside a mythic narrative.
It is, but there is one final detail woven throughout these excerpts that fundamentally changes the tone of the entire text.
Oh, what is that?
It is made clear that the Buddha's light and these profound liberation doors are not newly created phenomena. They are not being generated in that moment.
Okay.
They are constantly present, radiating everywhere at all times, but the text explicitly notes that they only become visible to the heavenly kings who have purified their own minds to see them.
So the signal is always broadcasting. The breakdown is entirely in the receiver.
Precisely. Which leaves us with a lingering, provocative question to consider.
Let's hear it.
We spend so much of our modern lives aggressively searching outside of ourselves for the cure to our burnout. We look for the next job, the next vacation, the new app, or the perfect piece of advice to finally fix how we feel.
Always searching.
But what if the exact perspective shift you need for your most exhausting problem isn't something you have to acquire? What if the solution has been radiating right in front of you the entire time, and you don't need to change your external life at all? You just need to adjust your internal lens to finally perceive it.
Wow. So tonight, When the house is quiet and you're staring at that phone with the battery blinking at 1%, maybe the answer isn't to frantically search for another charger to force yourself to keep pushing.
Maybe not.
Maybe you just need to recognize the shadows on the wall for what they are. Zoom your focus into the single pore of the present moment and give yourself permission to effortlessly power down.